This is Sports Done Right. SCTV sports anchor Doug Wright brings you expanded coverage of Sun City athletic action and introduces us to some of our Sun City neighbors who share their sports stories.
In the recent issue of the Bluffton Sun, contributor and Sun City resident Joe Torino features Doug Wright, Sun City television sports reporter and host of Sports Done Right. From his humble beginnings in Detroit, Michigan, to his distinguished 40-year career as a tax merger acquisitions lawyer in Atlanta, Torino highlights his journey to volunteer at SCTV, Sun City's own television broadcast, beginning back in 2018, 2 years after moving to Sun City in 2016. Doug's story is a compelling reminder of the rich tapestry of experience that individuals bring to their roles in Sun City. His journey from his law career in Atlanta to the broadcasting studio of SCTV highlights a life lived fully, with each chapter as vibrant and engaging as the sports stories he has shared with his audience each week. It is clear he has thoroughly enjoyed volunteering at SCTV very much. And very recently, following his interview with Torino, at the age of 78, Wright turned in his microphone and retired from SCTV. His contributions to Sun City and SCTV have been incredibly significant, adding sports news in a new and interesting way for those Sun City residents who love all the sports the community has to offer. All of us here at SCTV will miss his sports reports.
Continuing our profiling of successful and interesting residents of Sun City, we spoke at length to Fred Pinciaro about his avocation and career highlights in a niche area of the sporting world.
Well, Fred, you've had quite an interesting career, and we're going to find out a little bit about that today. And just for background purposes, where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Ohio. I was born in Steubenville, Ohio, and moved years later, spent most of my adult life in Virginia.
Okay, Northern Virginia?
Northern Virginia. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what got you interested in the art of kicking?
Well, I have to say it was my son. He wasn't a big kid, but he was a really good athlete. So in soccer, I noticed he had a pretty strong leg. So we were living in Atlanta at the time. And so I went over to Georgia Tech to talk to Coach Curry that was there and their kicker to learn a little bit more about it. But what got me interested was my son and his ability to kick.
Oh, well, that's a good story. And then, of course, you somehow got involved with a whole series, a whole slew, I'll say, of athletes from high school all the way through the pros. Who was your first real client, Bill Curry's kickers? Or?
No, not really. I actually learned from Curry's kickers. I tried to learn as much as I could, and some of the kids, if that's what you're looking for, some of the kids that I started with, start with Shane Graham. We used to run high school camps and college camps. So our high school camps we'd do up at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania, and then we backed that right up with all the kids that we were coaching from different colleges all around, from Division I to Division III.
Now, were there other kicking coaches at these camps?
Oh, yeah, we had quite a few kids, so we needed a lot of coaches. And what was unique about our coaching is that we had a curriculum. And if you were a coach, we wouldn't use athletes. Like a lot of camps will use high school athletes or college athletes. You were actually going to have somebody that coached you. So if you moved around from me to another coach, you got the same instruction. I said some of the athletes got drafted, like Josh Brown. He got drafted by the Seahawks. Neil Rackers in the 6th round. Neil Rackers got drafted by the Cardinal. No, he got drafted by the Bengals. So all the different kids that I coached primarily place kickers, and punters, like you'll see. We've talked about the Steve Weatherford was a punter. Jeremy Kapanos played with the Steelers. He was a punter. But Josh Brown was one of my main guys. Neil Rackers, Shane Graham. Shane Graham was Cincinnati. Connor Barth was with Tampa. more that I can think of.
Well, you
Dan
don't have
Warner.
to name them all. That's one of the good things.
Yeah.
And how long you been in Sun City?
Been here going on 13 years.
Does it continue? Your kicking, coaching?
It did continue. When I first came down here, I was a little bit concerned because I had no place to kick. So I befriended the high school coach over at Bluffton High School, and I sort of did a trade-off with him. I said, if you let me bring my kids over here to train, I'll coach your kickers. So that's sort of the relationship. So I ended up coaching at Bluffton High School for probably 3 years.
And do you have any preference? Not preference, but do you have any clue as to who may have been the best kicker you ever worked with?
Put me on the spot there.
Yeah, I know. You know, they're not watching this.
No, yeah, the best kicker I ever worked with. They were all good. They wouldn't be where they were.
Yeah.
But there's one stand out for me in front of. That's a hard question because they're all good. They wouldn't be where they were, where they're playing. So and making the kind of money they're making.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do you make what, millions of dollars doing this?
Yeah. No. I get tickets to games.
Okay, that's good.
I get free transportation because sometimes I have to travel to sites like the Seahawks. We worked at the Seahawks facility. We worked at the Cardinals facility. We worked at Tampa Bay facility. So I get taken in there, and they're pretty good to me.
Well, good. That's excellent enough. Now, what's the most, I'll call it quirky or interesting thing that's happened to you in your career with kickers?
I'll give you a punter story. This is a high school story. We were in a state championship playing up at Clemson, and the Clemson or the team we were playing for another high school team had a really good running back. Ended up going to South Carolina to play. So we told him, our punter, whatever you do, don't punt to number 3.
Yeah.
First punt he hits to number 3.
Right
They return it for a
right there,
touchdown.
right.
So we tell him again, don't kick to number 3. He punts it again, number 3, another touchdown. So that didn't work too well. He was in a bad place that day.
So you've named a lot of names, and you've worked with a lot of people, and tell us a little bit about each one in 10, 15 seconds as what their strengths were, and then I'll ask you a real hard question.
Okay. What each of their strengths were, well, they differed. And we would analyze by game what mistake they made. I had one situation where Rackers was playing in the playoffs in New Orleans, and he was having an issue with the ball pushing the ball off to the right. Well, I could see it on TV what he was doing, so we set up for the next game. We set up a little system where I would call his cell phone, which was on the sidelines, and tell him what I saw, and he would try to fix it from there. We didn't have to do that. He initially wanted me to call his wife, who was in the stands right behind the bench, and so we didn't do that either.
Okay.
So there's all a bunch of different stories. One of them, we were out riding around, and
Excuse me.
one of them wanted to ride my motorcycle, and it was Josh Brown with the Seahawks at the time, and he went out on my motorcycle with my daughter, and they had a little fender bender, so they had to push the bike back up the hill. So I was worried about the headlines on the newspaper on that. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, you are touted as being very good at working on the mental aspect of the game with these kickers, and we all know you have to be really tough-minded to kick, and especially in the NFL where there's a lot of dollars on the line. And tell us a little bit about how you felt qualified to do that, and who you've worked with on the mental aspect more.
Probably Brett Bowden, who's a punter for Tampa, on the mental aspect of it. But kicking is all about mental. You have to be able to stay focused. You've got 1.3 seconds to get the ball off, so you got to really stay focused. What we would do, an example would be, one of my guys got cut with the Cardinals, and he was sort of in a lame duck, and we were in St. Louis. So we used a lot of sports psychologists.
Uh-huh.
So we would sit with a sports psychologist, and we would go over what we felt, or he did anyway, felt that was bothering this particular kicker. and his issue was it's just confidence in himself because he'd been released, and anyway,
that's got to be shattering.
and that's a tough thing to do, to sit back, but he got right back up and bounced back up and ended up being picked up by the Texans. So it
Okay.
worked out pretty well.
And you said you're still doing this a little bit with high school kids and so forth.
Not much anymore. I did over at Bluffton, like I said, because I had facility there. I did also use Hilton Head Prep as a place. But as you get older, it's hard for me to stand on those sidelines.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of backed away from it a little bit. I do go up to, or I'm going to go up to North Carolina. A friend of mine kick with the Vikings. Runs a really good camp up there.
Okay.
So I'll go up and help him out.
So you're well known around the league.
Yeah, I guess people know who I am in the kicking game.
Okay, well, Fred, I really appreciate you taking some time today and sharing with us a rather unique niche in pro sports and the college and high school. And we'll look forward to talking to you again when one of your kickers wins the Super Bowl.
Oh, I would like to see that happen, yeah. That would be really good.
One of the great European leaders of the World War II era and beyond was Winston Churchill, who was Prime Minister during England's darkest hours and yet rallied the citizenry to resist invasion and fight on to ultimate victory. He has been quoted as saying, "Healthy citizens are the greatest asset any country can have." Those among us who are familiar with his lifestyle will find this quote somewhat ironic. But the residents of Sun City continue to work hard to stay active and healthy. Tell us about your bike ride across the United States.
Well, it was something that I had wanted to do on my bucket list for many years. Obviously, you have to be retired because not too many companies are going to let you get out 2 months and take off. So it was on the back of my mind, and really, I just turned 65 in January, and I thought I better get doing this before I get to the point where I can't do it. And so I ride a lot of rides over the years. Actually, this past ride that I just did this past week with the Erie Canal, I rode with Women's Tours, and they're a group out of Rochester, New York. This was my 17th ride, so the Ride Across America was my 16th ride with them. They do this ride every year, and so I knew about this ride. I knew that I wanted to do it, and so I basically signed up, and we knew it was going to be 58 days long. 8 days of which were going to be off days, just to rest, get laundry done, pamper ourselves. And the other 50 days was riding. We knew exactly every day how many miles we would ride, what the destination was, way ahead of time. So when you sign up for this, you pretty much make sure you know that you're going to ride this kind of distance and put these type of miles on your bike and on you.
And what were your toughest days in terms of weather, etc.?
The wind. The wind seemed relentless. It came so often, more times than not. We were pretty lucky with the weather. Otherwise, we had a few days of really downpouring rain, some lightning. We had hail. We had snow flurries as we crossed the Continental Divide. But I think for me personally, it was the wind. There was no such thing as tailwinds from San Diego to St. Augustine, Florida. They were mostly headwinds or crosswinds. Matter of fact, one day they canceled the ride after 20 miles as we were coming through Gila Bend, because the winds were so bad we couldn't keep our bicycles up. They were close to 50 miles an hour.
Wow.
So it was pushing on our bikes, and you were trying to keep your bike upright and try to ride at the same time, which was becoming pretty much of a dangerous situation. So the ride was canceled that day at that point.
Now, what would you describe as one of your most interesting moments on this ride?
Interesting moments. They were all interesting. Every day was a new day. You get up, you get dressed, you put on your shorts, you go out, you get on your bike, and off you go. So We didn't know what we would see every day. I don't know. I embraced the whole thing. So every day was a great day of riding for me. And the people we met along the way that would offer us water or, hey, what are you all doing? And just wanted to let us know that they were cheering us on. They thought we were doing such a great job. And so there was something great about every day, I think.
And what did you learn about yourself, if anything, during this ride, and certainly upon the conclusion of the ride across the country?
I think, what did I learn about myself?
Kind of an ambush question.
Yeah, I think that I learned that I could really, when you set your mind to something, and I have been always like this, even as a kid, you really can do it. A lot of this is mental. You know, you get in your head, I want to do it, I want to do this, and the physical part of it, yes, there is a portion of that, but most of it is mental and helping each other. There's days when somebody else on the ride, there was 26 of us that rode. We didn't ride all 26 together because after a few days you start breaking up into groups that you know those people ride like you. And we just supported each other, we cheered each other on. Some days were a little harder as far as climbing or terrain or the winds, but you know, we were there to help each other. And I think for me it wasn't just learning more about myself, but taking in the fact that we really became a great bond of sisters to help each other, you know?
Oh yeah, misery loves company sometimes. As I understand it, you are an active member of the bicycle club here, and that you got tremendous support from them.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I ride with the B Plus group and for the Sun City Cyclers, and it's just a great overall group. A lot of fun people. I ride quite a bit. Judy LePan is our president. Cliff Highland is our vice president. And at one point, I didn't realize they were going to even do this, but we were having a lot of flat tires coming across the United States. And what they did was they sent ahead through Amazon Prime, they sent a box of different tire tubes to help everybody, which arrived in Fredericksburg, Texas when we got there. So just the support was overwhelming. They supported me throughout this ride, cheering me on our Team Cycling website, and just a great group of people.
Fantastic. And what were the logistics of bedding down for the evening, as they say?
Oh, we had hotels already established where we were going to stay. Some of them were, again, some of them were out in the middle of nowhere, so they weren't your Hampton Inns or things like that. They were little motels, and that no one ever heard of the names of them. But let me tell you, Doug, by the time you're done riding your 85 miles in a day or 70 or whatever, all you want to do is take a shower and go to bed anyhow.
Right,
so
right.
As long as you have a place to put your head down.
Now, did you have to cart any stuff, or did they have vans to bring your clothes and so forth?
They had a van that carried our luggage. They carried extra tubes. They carried extra tires. They also had a kitchen in the back of the van.
Oh, nice.
So we had a cook that came with us and cooked pretty much 98% of all our meals. Had breakfast. We would pack snacks from the snack table that they carried in the van, and every morning before we left. And then they were meeting us about every 20 miles with water and or snacks as well. And then at supper time, we had a cook, Lauren, who would cook in these Dutch ovens, and we had wonderful meals. We would sit out in the parking lot and enjoy camaraderie, talking about the day's event, getting ready for the next day's event, some briefing about what we were going to be doing the next day and where we were going, and it very well organized.
I was going to ask if you'd do it again, but as I understand it, you've done this endurance riding trip with these various groups about 16, 17 times?
Yeah. Would I do cross country again? No, not because I didn't enjoy it, but because I want to go see something that I haven't seen.
Okay.
Actually, next year, July 31st 1st to August 31st, I'm going to go up to Portland, Oregon, and I'm going to ride the Pacific Northwest Loop, which is a 30-day trip. I'm going to get some climbing in there, up there, and the Cascades and Clark Lewis Trail. So I like to do a lot of different rides. I'm not too much a repeater because I like to see new things. So.
And where do you think this sense of adventure came from?
I think I was born with it, and because I that's why I probably joined the Navy too.
Yeah, sure.
And the Navy.
Not on a job, it's an adventure. Right?
Exactly, and I think the Navy made me a little bit of a gypsy, that I just want to travel, and I had a lot of great opportunities to see the world through the Navy, and there's just so much to see, and so I've really always kind of had that adventuresome spirit, you know.
I would dare say that all of us have heard and have some working knowledge of the legendary financier J.P. Morgan. He overcame many obstacles in his life, including rheumatic fever, which required a year for treatment in the Azores in his teenage years, to become wildly successful on Wall Street, not to mention rich. He was quoted as saying, "The first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you are not going to stay where you are." Sage advice, which he obviously took to heart in his own route to success. Well, Joe, it's good to see you this morning, and we're going to talk a little bit about your background, but we also want to get into some of the very unique things you've been able to do during your career. And tell us where you were raised.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in the town of Penn Hills, which was a very sports-oriented town. And, like every kid in Pittsburgh in the 60s and the 70s, you played baseball, football. Those were the two big sports. My father was a minor league professional baseball player. Coached my brother and I all during our formative years. And so baseball was our primary sport. But I also tried football. I was a quarterback and a defensive back. But everybody else grew and I didn't. And then my dad ended up, taking us to a Pittsburgh Penguins game where they were a relatively new franchise. And they gave away free street hockey sticks. And we were hooked, and to this day, my dad says that was the most expensive free thing he ever got because my brother and I played for years.
Okay, and so how long have you lived here in Sun City?
It just celebrated our second anniversary, and love it. Just having a great time here.
Well, they don't have a hockey team here yet. Yeah. But, this is famous for if you got a passion, do something about it. But tell us, what did you do with your hockey passion? Where did that take you?
Well, I as a kid, you all think you're going to play in the pros, right? And so I started playing travel hockey and, was playing on all-star teams. I was the MVP of the Dapper Dan All-Star Classic in Pittsburgh. And, you looked at all the football and basketball and wrestling guys, and they're all getting Division I scholarships. And so I just assumed, okay, everybody's going to come hunting me. I was very naive, didn't understand that nobody was coming to Pittsburgh for hockey players in that era. So, I ended up, by the grace of God, ending up at Penn State, where I played club hockey in the late 70s, early 80s. And it was a magnificent experience for me because I became the vice president and the president of the hockey club, which kind of gave me this passion for sports administration, sport management. Little did I know that was going to end up being my career. I went to Penn State to be a nuclear engineer.
Wow.
So, back in those days, we referred to that as pre-business. But so I did switch into business, and I found I was really fortunate to find a counselor who said, Joe, you should take this passion that you have. Just because you can't play pro hockey doesn't mean you can't work in the business. And I took that to heart. And when I graduated, I got an internship with the Pittsburgh Penguins. and ended up getting hired full time, where I was in corporate sales, season ticket sales, that sort of thing. But that morphed into me becoming the director of amateur hockey development for the Penguins. So I was involved with youth hockey all over Western Pennsylvania, and eventually ended up coaching the junior Penguins as a 22-year-old head coach. In way over my head, but I loved it. I fell in love with it. My dad, like I said, he was a coach. So I got bit by the coaching bug in 1985. I left the Penguins, decided to go to grad school at Kent State, became an assistant hockey coach, went to Culver Military Academy, which I know you're familiar with, and was an assistant coach there. And then in 1987, my alma mater came calling, and I went to Penn State to become a hockey coach.
So you were the head coach at Penn State. How long did that last before, as you know, coaches are hired to be fired? But so in any event, so how long were you doing that?
I coached at Penn State for 19 years as the head coach, and we were in what was called the American Collegiate Hockey Association. We were not a varsity scholarship program at that time, but we were good. We played a lot of NCAA varsity teams and had a lot of success against them. We always referred to ourselves as the best varsity team that wasn't. So we were essentially like a Division III program at a Division I school. So I used to tell the players that we recruited that you get the best of both worlds here. You know, you get the advantages of being treated like a Division I athlete without some of the, baggage that comes along with that. And it was very successful. We won 6 ACHA national championships. We played in 10 straight national championship games, which to me is almost a more amazing that we just never got upset along the way. Didn't win them all, as my daughter was always fond of reminding me, but it was an amazing experience, and I'm still very, very close to many of the players that I coached. Was blessed to be the band leader for some really cool players that have gone on to be very successful. And, one of them, Jeff Martha, is the CEO of Medtronic, which is the largest medical device company in the world. And it just so happens that my youngest son works for him in Minneapolis.
Well, there's a coincidence. Now, 19 years is a long time for any head coaching position. And what other things were you involved with, whether hockey related or not, during that period and thereafter, and before you got to Sun City?
Well, most importantly, through Penn State hockey, when I was a student, I met my future wife. And, Heidi, who was from Erie, Pennsylvania, and was a big hockey fan. So she was actually a volunteer for the hockey club that we had. We ended up getting married, and we raised 3 children in State College, Pennsylvania. They still talk to me, which is, one of the things I'm very proud of. So they all graduated from Penn State because I got the tuition discount. And, it's been an amazing experience. That, we got to be a part of so many really amazing events. I left coaching after 19 years because I went to work in the athletic department as the head of the what's called the Penn State Nittany Lion Club, which was the annual fundraising arm for all of Penn State sports. Back then it was 29 sports. And I worked very closely with the football program in particular. So my kids got to enjoy a pretty cool experience. A lot of bowl games, got to travel with the team, that sort of thing. And so that was a pretty special time. And then I got into major gift fundraising. And my life really changed in 2010 when Terry Pagula, who is the current owner of the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres, whose son used to attend my hockey camps at Penn State, got together with him, and took 5 years to make this happen. But he gave us the largest gift ever given to Penn State, not just Penn State athletics, but Penn State, $102 million gift to start varsity hockey and build us a $90 million hockey facility.
Fantastic. It's too bad you don't get a commission on that sale.